that means this week we will be starting Fire Emblem 7, which I'm very excited for. Alright. Let's go and update stream info. Potato Sunday, Great Ace Attorney 2. Oh, that's right. I was playing this last night. Okay. Chapter 3 continues. Alright, guys. Great Ace Attorney. What the heck happened yesterday? We got into the, we got into the trial yesterday, and we started... We're trying to figure out how that guy ended up in the Crystal Tower when he was supposedly killed on that stage platform. And there's also, like, lore with Van Zeeks going on. And I believe there were about to be more witnesses brought in, and that's when we stopped yesterday before Among Us, so... We'll get in a few hours today, and honestly, hopefully beat Chapter 3, but we'll see. We'll see how far off that is, / how long this takes.
Absolutely not.
It is far off. Okay. Yeah, Dots is also saying eh. Even Rosen's saying absolutely not. He doesn't know. You just know full well how this game goes. Yeah, I know. I had a sinking feeling. All right, well, let's get in it. We haven't even discussed the wax figures yet, right? Yeah, there's so much shit that's going on that we still have to talk about. Alright, the defense calls for further testimony from Mr. Loon. Right! Okay, so what had just happened was we found out that there was a balloon. There was a balloon that exploded in the air, which I'm supposing had whoever's corpse this is in it. I don't know if it's a body double or if it's a wax person. The wax figures were clearly used in conjunction with my sword to create my locked room trick. Yeah, well, something absolutely crazy is going to go on. I concur. There is clearly more to the story here than meets the eye. It's imperative that we clear up the issue of this phantom balloon, I feel. Witness, you will give supplementary testimony about the balloons you were operating at the exhibition. Grazie, my lord. Right, this weird kid with the balloon. As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an explosion, what a catastrophe. But you can't get away from the fact that a burnt-up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can ya? The coppers at the yard reckoned it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage. This stupid ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. Oh. So it wasn't one of his balloons. Hello, Prophets. We just beat Symphony of War. So literally we are on, like, minute 2 of Ace Attorney. Gina in the Inspector fit is adorable. She is kind of funny. How did I beat it? We actually kind of grinded at the beginning of stream to catch up my characters to the level they were supposed to be. So your assertion is that the balloon this child saw was not the one belonging to you. Si, exactamente. If he even saw a balloon in the first place. I do not like the sound of it. It's very bad for business. I have a good mind to sue the land of Bohemia. If you attack us, we will fight back. It will be war! All out war! Not this. What happened to All Out War? Mr. Loon clearly doesn't appear to be lying. But that doesn't change the fact that the testimony and the evidence are contradictory here. Yeah, we went in totally unprepared on Friday. I know, casually starting an international incident. If the defense is unable to find fault with the witnesses' statements, the court must consider them the truth. Think long and hard on that, my learned friend. The situation has clearly changed now. I have to get to the bottom of what happened here, no matter what it takes. Counsel, you may now cross-examine the witnesses. Okay. Time to press. Oh, nice, Prophet. I'm glad. I'm glad that it was helpful. As I said, Balthazar Loon is no liar. Every balloon I had in the sky landed safely.
C'est magnifique.
Already, Rosen? Jeez. Hikari is back in the party. You couldn't just have forgotten one, maybe?
Yes.
Signor? I might not notice if I was given 100 lentils and one was missing. But we are talking about 3 enormous balloons. Do you believe I could make a mistake about something so grand and expensive? I took the liberty of having Inspector Gregson check this gentleman's warehouse. I have a report here. It clearly says a total of 3 balloons. It would appear no mistake has been made then. Surely Miss Lestrade could have been sent for such a menial task. What? Me? I'll tell you what I told the boss. East End kids like me can only count up to 2. Obviously that ain't true. But the boss bought it and said he'd have a go at it himself in that case. All 3 of my balloons were carrying passengers. If they fell to the ground in an esplosione, what a catastrophe. It would be quite a catastrophe if they fell to the ground for any reason, I think. On that note, Mr. Loon, tell me, what is it that keeps these balloons in the sky? Are you an idiota? Sorry? That is like asking, why does a candle burn bright? It burns bright because it burns bright. And the balloon flies because it flies. What else? That must be Italian for I don't know. There are 2 types of flying balloons, hot air balloons and gas balloons. Hot air balloons work on the principle of hot air being less dense than cold air, whereas gas balloons derive their lift by using a gas that is lighter than air. See, and my balloons are filled with the magic gas, I believe. Hydrogen, lighter than air, but highly explosive. Good lord! I do not permit smoking of the cigarettes in any of my balloons. My magic gas does not like fire. Even a small spark of static electricity could cause the entire balloon to explode. What is the matter with you, senor? All that comes out of your mouth is explosion, explosion. I tell you, my balloons are perfectly safe. They have to be, or I cannot eat. None of my balloons exploded that day. I am completely sure. But if you still say that it is what happened, you must show me proof. Alright, so Mr. Loon had 3 balloons in the air that day. If none of them were damaged, then what was the one that exploded? You can't get away from the fact that a burnt up bit of cloth was found at the scene, can you? I was surprised to find the piece of fabric still at the scene, actually. Didn't you search the area surrounding the stage for clues? Nah, I'm not into picking stuff up off the ground, me. Always works out way better diving into people's pockets instead. So much for the new career path. Mind you, the boss was on his hands and knees picking up all kinds of rubbish from the floor. Thing is, though, the cage went crashing into the Crystal Tower, didn't it? So that's where most of the investigating was going on. Even so, I would have thought someone from Scotland Yard would have gathered it up as evidence. Core, listen to you. You stumble across a bit of balloon and suddenly you're the best investigator in the world. Pardon? Well, you ain't got a badge, have ya? Like this one, I could arrest you with this if I wanted to. I wouldn't put it past her. Come to think of it, there was talk of some scorching on the ground at a meeting we had about the investigation. The coppers at the yard reckoned it was probably some debris thrown from the explosion on the stage. There was considerable damage to the stage and surrounding area, wasn't there? Yeah, some of the coves what were watching the experiment were caught in the blast and injured. Good job the old contraption didn't keel over, eh? I hadn't even considered that. It seems there was great panic after the incident occurred. Nevertheless, the police shouldn't have missed a torn piece of the envelope from a balloon. Inspector Gregson can expect repercussions. Like me swiping all his fish and chips, eh? The man's sole pleasure. None of this matters! That scrap of balloon envelope means nothing! Nint! The stupid Ragazzo is mistaken. My balloons have the red and blue zigzag stripes anyway. You mean the color is wrong? Si, senor. I do not have any green balloons in my warehouse. And yet, a piece of green cloth was found at the scene, and it's unmistakably from a balloon. Well, I do not know how that can be. Oh, he's hiding something. For the sake of argument, let's say that a green balloon did explode above the stage. You couldn't therefore conclude that it happened on the day in question. I'm late, was it E-tier? We're trying to figure it out. There's 3 dead bodies and a Thundercats wig. I don't know. Why not? There have been recreational balloon flights over Hyde Park operating from before the Great Exhibition. One could have exploded on some earlier date. Unfortunate, as I'm sure you'd agree. You believe it may have been from one of the earlier balloon accidents that predates the exhibition? Si, exactamente. As the senor says, it is not from one of my balloons. Clearly, this little ragazzo from Bohemia is clearly mistaken about what he saw.
Excuse me.
Is something wrong, Master Gotts? It's Master Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund Ormstein. It was on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, something is very wrong. I know what I saw. There was a green balloon there. I swear it. I swear all over Bohemia. You can speak as much bad language as you like, but it changes nothing. If you do not have evidence, Ragazzo, then I must tell your parents to punish you, eh? Perhaps we'll let the judge decide when it comes to punishments. Evidence? What is evidence? To give a simple example, young man. A photograph, for instance. Some tangible proof of what you claim. Well, why didn't you say so sooner? I have the photograph here. Good gracious! What? I had not been up in a balloon for a little while, so I was very excited. I took lots and lots of photographs of the Crystal Tower, of the Bohemian exhibit, of the streets of London, of the hot eel cellar, the balloon, and the instantaneous kinesis experiment. Did you take pictures of that? Yeah, one picture. Really? You did take one. But all I wanted was a ride in the balloon. I was not interested in boarding experiments. Never mind that. Can you show us the photograph? Of course! And then you will see. You will see that I am not lying. That I really did see a green balloon. Oh god. Well, I see you are all too shocked to speak. Yes, I think shocked is indeed the word, young man. Yeah, perhaps you cannot see that it was a green balloon from this photograph, but that is not my fault. That is the fault of this stupid person who made the camera. That is one very bohemian-sounding cry. Very well, the court will accept this photograph as evidence. It's not my fault. It's the fault of the person who made the camera. Okay. Oh, I'm not a fan of Little Boy Chan, but let's see. So you can see him in the cage. Okay. So he said there were people in all of his balloons. So there's no one in this one. This photo made your jaw drop the first time? So that's him pressing the levers, and there's the guy in this thing. Okay. Well, never mind. I'm sure you have plenty of wonderful sepia memories to take home with you. In any case, when exactly did you take that photograph? Well, it was on the day of the big explosion. You don't say. When I pressed the shutter release, there was this very loud bang. And a hot wind rushed over my face. That means this photograph was taken a split second before the explosion occurred. Could the snapping of the camera be what caused the explosion? Well, if you ask me, this black and white photograph changes nothing. I could not give a flying fig. Lovely language you've picked up. Okay, so we need to go against Loon's statements with that photograph for sure. As I thought, Mr. Loon's testimony doesn't quite add up. The young Bohemian boy claims to have seen another fourth balloon, but Mr. Loon vehemently denies the possibility, and it's hard to imagine the man in charge could be mistaken about the number that were in the air. Still, this inconsistency must tell us something, I'm sure. Balthazar Loon's no liar. Every balloon I had landed safely. All 3 balloons were carrying passengers. So I think I'm gonna use the photo against this.
Objection.
Unfortunately, the photograph Master Gotts took can't tell us the color of the balloon, but it can tell us something else, something crucially important. What? It shows that the pictured balloon wasn't carrying any passengers. Ah, my goodness, you're right! But surely all the balloons would have been carrying passengers. There would be no sense in it otherwise. See! They offer pleasure! Foreseeing the view, my balloons only fly with passengers. Which tells us that the pictured balloon isn't one of them. So when the incident occurred that day, there was a fourth balloon in the skies above the experimentation stage. The mysterious green balloon. I know nothing! Niente! I can only tell you one thing. If this balloon was not carrying passengers, then it was not one of mine.
Objection.
I'm just realizing that his hat is like a hot air balloon. There are legal tradesmen everywhere you care to look. Clearly, one such entrepreneur decided to capitalize on the opportunity presented by the Great Exhibition. The character design is always incredible. His name's Balthazar Balloon. Yeah, this game does have some nicely designed characters. Also, the character animations are almost always good. Doesn't matter if they're a witness, prosecution, jury, like, all the animations are very good. See, the competizione, trying to steal my profits. I did not notice because of the esperimento that went wrong on stage. This fourth balloon exploded at the very same moment Mr. Asman was beamed from the stage below. Right. So them scraps that fell to the ground after, and left them scorch marks, they didn't come from the stage at all. It was bits of balloon raining down. Okay, so... What's-his-face got a sponsor to build the machine for him, right? He had the science, but somebody, like an engineer, was provided to build the machine. So this all seems like an elaborate plan by the guy that lent him the money to fake his own death. He rigged the machine so that it would blow up a balloon that he planted in the air to drop a fake version of his own corpse on the Crystal Tower. And now he's at large. That's my current idea about what's going on. Because no one was in it, it didn't get no attention. A mysterious fourth balloon carrying no passengers silently floating over the experimentation stage.
Objection.
This photograph shows us nothing more. A stray balloon carrying no one, and operated by some rogue trader. Clearly it has nothing to do with the case. Its relevance does elude me, I must say. The court has seen sufficient evidence and heard ample testimony already. The prosecution calls for this trial to be concluded. Really? Have we really got to the truth yet? No. I can't let this opportunity slip away. The jurors' minds are made up, but not in our favor. What else can this photograph tell us? Is there nothing more we can learn from it?
Objection.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, wait. Please don't give your decisions yet. The photograph from Mr. Gotts may well be hiding one more vital clue. What's that? A vital clue?
Objection.
We're well past the point of mere possibilities. It's time for definitives now, so tell the court. Oh shit. What exactly does this alleged clue in the photograph prove? Balloon's owner, balloon's color, the cause of the explosion. I'm gonna guess it's cause of the explosion, right? Alright, let's try it. I'm kind of going out on a limb here, though. We can reasonably assume that the pictured balloon was destroyed in the searing heat of the explosion. Yeah, that's right, yeah! It was not my fault! Evidently, because the birdcage from the kinesis machine materialized in the sky where it had been flying. And the balloon, being filled with flammable hydrogen, instantly and explosively ignited. No, that's not what happened. What? It would appear that this photograph requires closer examination. Counsel for the defense, you will highlight the location of this alleged clue in the photograph. Fuck. Of course, my lord. Couldn't make it easy. If you look closely, it's plain enough to see. And what's shown is linked to another piece of evidence we have. In a way, that leads to an unbelievable conclusion. The clue that heavily suggests the reason the balloon exploded is... I'm guessing it might be the bags. Heavily suggests the real reason the balloon exploded.
Take that!
Without a doubt, it's right here. I'm afraid it's still not clear to me, Counsel. Perhaps it's a matter of age. Oh, yes, probably. Oh, I'm wrong! Oh, okay. That wasn't it then. It's not the bags.
Get your act together!
Sorry. It's linked to another piece of evidence I have? The crossbow? What would it be? What is this? Wait! Something is being shot at it!
Take that!
Well, at first I thought it was like a gleam of sunlight. You know? It had a glint in the picture. The miraculous timing of this photograph can only be described as miraculous. That was written twice. No, it wasn't. If you look, you'll notice there's a bright white line that appears to point directly at the balloon. Most likely a ray of light caught incidentally on the film. Okay, so yes. I'm afraid I can see nothing of the sort. If you look with a magnifying glass, my lord, it becomes clear what the nature of this bright line really is. Yeah, Van Zeeks is me. I need a cape. Goodness, what is that? Undeniably some flash of light, yes. Oh golly, do you think it might be lightning? Kevin? This looks delicious. What is? Lemon pasta? My. Okay. but it couldn't have been a finer day. I believe we may be looking at fire. A bolt of fire heading straight for the balloon, like an arrow. Indeed, even to my aging eyes, it would appear to be a flame of some sort. My word, are you suggesting this flame struck the hydrogen gas that filled the balloon? That's absurd. The balloon would have been 60 feet above the ground at the time. No flame could possibly have reached such a height. Actually, it's my opinion that a particular piece of evidence shown at the scene reveals how that is exactly what did happen. What evidence? If such evidence exists, Counsel, then for goodness sake present it, man. Okay, do they want me to present the crossbow?
Take that!
This was found hidden at the foot of a small ornamental tree near the scene. Good lord, is that a crossbow? An arrow dipped in oil and set alight could have been shot from this weapon, sending a flaming arrow into the hydrogen-filled balloon. Are you suggesting that crossbow was used to deliberately... Blimey, you're right. That streak of light in the photos looks just like an arrow, doesn't it? Then the esplosione of the balloon, it was... very likely the result of a flaming arrow from this crossbow igniting the hydrogen gas inside. No! I feel like that was a new animation. Order, order, Counsel. This is an extraordinary supposition. If the aim was to cause the balloon to explode, the shooter could have used a gun, of course. However, there's an obvious reason why that would have been out of the question. The noise of the discharge, of course. That's right. By using a crossbow, the projectile could be fired at the balloon silently. Well, yeah, if someone had shot a gun off in the exhibition grounds, it would have caused a real panic. But with a big explosione, there was a very big panic anyway, no? I don't like this. I should be pleased to have found a plausible new explanation for all this, but something feels wrong.
Objection.
Do you understand the implications of what you're saying, my Nipponese friend? If a flaming arrow did indeed hit the balloon, then obviously it would have exploded. And if the birdcage appeared from a cloud of smoke that ensued... Well, wait a minute, what are you really saying here? I don't get it. Was the birdcage beamed up into the sky after all? Or... My goodness me! Ah, now I understand. That's what this sinking feeling is about. I think there's a good chance that the birdcage was actually concealed inside the balloon all along. What? Did I just hear you correctly, Counsel? There's no going back now. The horse has bolted. Alright, before we get into this, guys, I'm gonna take, like, 5 minutes to eat my dinner. Kevin made this amazing, like, lemon pasta, and I don't want to let it get cold. Sadly, this game has no voice acting, so I can't, like, play and eat at the same time. So, give me a few minutes, I will be back, and then we'll get to the bottom of this. Okay, hello, I'm back. Dinner was absolutely phenomenal. Kevin made like a... It was like pasta with chicken breasts. But the sauce he made was like a yuzu oil kind of spicy sauce. Like, lemon pasta for me is a major home run, so I absolutely loved it. And it had like chicken, carrots, green beans, and onion. With some pasta, it was just so good. Stupidly good. Anyway, my tummy is full, and we filled our glass of wine, and I believe we are ready to proceed with this trial. We are finally learning that there was actually another cage in another balloon. Let's assume, as I said, that the birdcage was hidden inside the green balloon from the start. On stage, when the experiment started, the birdcage in the instantaneous kinesis machine disappeared in a cloud of smoke. At that moment, the flaming arrow was fired from the ground, causing the green balloon to explode and drawing the attention of the spectators to the sky above their heads. From amid the smoke, the hidden birdcage then appeared to fall down and crashed into the crystal tower. I think you'll all agree it's entirely plausible that what I've just described is the real truth behind the miraculous experiment carried out that day. This is... Good grief!
Objection!
This is ludicrous. What you've described is no science experiment. It's child's play. A contemptible display of stage magic. Both Mr. Sholmes and Iris said that the experiment was a scientific impossibility, in which case this is the only way to explain what happened that day. And in any case, the victim's body was found inside the birdcage in the crystal tower. If the instantaneous kinesis didn't take place, how do you explain that? Wax dolls! If I may put in a word, as a man of magic myself, such apparent discrepancies can easily be explained by some simple deception. Juror number 3. All that would have been needed is a doppelganger. Someone who looked very similar to the victim, Mr. Asman, and having this other man appear on stage to front the show as a body double. Yes, of course. So, in fact, Mr. Asman must have been inside the birdcage that was concealed inside the balloon right from the start.
Objection!
That balloon would have been filled with hydrogen. Anything inside it would have been scattered to 4 winds when it exploded. No one would ever embark on such a risky venture. Not necessarily. The explosive force of the balloon gas would very much depend on the mixture ratio. Juror number 4? Flying balloons are rarely filled with pure hydrogen, but a mix of other gases, such as helium as well. Helium on its own doesn't explode, but by controlling the gas mixture ratio, the explosive force can be altered. Your friend's FE tier list video? He tiered the FE games? Is this Speedy Hawk? The mixture ratio. Obviously, the victim's body would have suffered some burns. That would be unavoidable. But not to such an extent as to render this whole obscene charade impossible. So everything that happened can be explained, logically and scientifically. The explosion that engulfed the stage at the start of the experiment was no accident. It was all part of the elaborate deception to make it appear that instantaneous kinesis had occurred. Him, Mecha, Choops. Oh. He's friends with Choops? Oh, goodness. Yeah, maybe I'll check it out, Dots, and see, and pick some opinions. I feel like I tend to deviate from the norm in terms of my thoughts on games, so I imagine I won't agree with them, but it would be interesting to hear some reasoning. Well, goodness me. And if we accept that this is what happened, it means that the victim, Mr. Asman, was never present on the public experimentation stage to begin with. In short, he couldn't have been killed by the defendant, who was on stage in full view the entire time. Ugh! Had we ever seen that sprite before this trial where he goes like... This will be very hard for the prosecution to counter. Lord Van Zeeks can't credibly maintain that Professor Hairbrain is a suspect now. Oh, it has been. Ah. Not again. Mr. Naruhodo, I appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Professor? But you can stop now. Just keep your mouth shut, please. Oh... He's gonna die on the hill that his experiment worked. That's what this is about. He literally will not accept that it failed. But what he doesn't realize is he got scammed by a scammer. He doesn't know. He's blinded by passion. Sorry? What's all this about, Mr. Hairbrain? You know, his hair looks kind of like a... Never mind. I, Albert Hairbrain, hereby confess that it was me who stabbed Mr. Odi Asman. I mustn't story time. Yes, it was me, with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver. What are you doing? Order, order, order! Defendant, explain this sudden confession. Professor Hairbrain, what are you talking about? It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis. My precious machine! You stand there and claim it was all a trick? All an elaborate prank? But where's your proof? No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would all be over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it. It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you just let me, I can... Barrack! Yes. I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say. I swear it. So please, ensure the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to and protect my creation. Alright, Night Prophet, have a good night. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend. Yeah, I kind of hate that he's doing this. Hairbrain's even worse than Natsume. What? And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defendant's position in the light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do... No, it was not. The professor is nuts and think his science is working. But what he doesn't realize is an engineer from a scam artist that is sponsoring him rigged the machine to stage a fake death, and this whole incident. That's what's happening. But he's stubborn. And he wants to die on the hill that science is working. He'll go to jail, he'll pay his time, at least the others don't learn his secret. But what he doesn't know is he's wrong, and it's all a setup by somebody else, not by him. This is Pangy Chan. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk and summarization of the case. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed, and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved. Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter? What Professor Harebrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect the client's life by asserting his innocence, or do I uphold my client's request but see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust. You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind? Oh my lord. He's doing the not like this emote. Mr. Naruhodo! He is super racist, yes. And I'm wondering if that's gonna, like, get addressed. Or no, probably not. But he is definitely racist. I do love that he said, your confused Nipponese mind. It's like, dude. Wow! There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's impossible to choose one. I have to give up on something, but what? The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was, in fact... a conjuring trick. Ugh! No, I can't say it. My client placed his faith in me, I can't just let him down. Why'd you give me the choice then, Genshin? What must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect? I knew it, 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 I knew it. I called this. I called this. Iris was going to get her. Where's Iris? Show me Iris. Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. It's been too long. Susato-san! But what are you... Ah! My first Susato takedown in 6 months. There'll be time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect. Professor Harebrain! Yes? Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too. Yes, of course. And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asman. I think you've come to realize yourself as well, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now. Whoa! Second bottle of the night. So, you finally opened your eyes. What? And as for you, Albert,
You can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say?
Barrick. Lord Van Zeeks? Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before. In truth, there is one thing, something I've remembered that's of relevance.
What?
On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow. Are we serious? Are you serious right now?
I beg your pardon!
Professor, did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like? Tall. Taller than me, and thin. Thinner than me. With straight hair, straighter and whiter than mine. Let me see. One less lens than me, too. A monocle. A rather stylish black monocle. Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay. The one thing in particular will help... Oh, but one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention. Alright. Pengy-chan strikes again and knows what's going on. Do you guys remember when I said this about the engineer? You remember? It's a setup by the engineer. The scam artist and the engineer. You all remember it. I know you do. Thank you. Alright, story time. Go to sleep. Night-night.
What?
He built the machine? That's right, Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of... Enoch Drebber.
Enoch Drebber? Does the name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered.
Not a name any scientist wishes to hear. That man's an abomination. Not a name any conjurer wishes to hear either. Who on earth is he? I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talk of other flamboyant experiments that turned out to be nothing but stage trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money. When magicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorting to these underhanded tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before. The man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you. So it's true then. My invention. My great machine. It was just a grand illusion. Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely. Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted.
Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume.
I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construct would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen. But at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified at the prospect.
So you really had no idea then, did you?
About the true nature of the machine that was built, and the true nature of Mr. Drebber. I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it. He just seems like somebody that got scammed, so of course you could pity him, but like... It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money. When I announced my invention to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment in my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber had described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore.
Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act?
Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry.
It would appear that we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Lord Van Zeeks, my lord. The court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical. Yes, Mr. Drebber. Gather information about the man. If possible, I should like him served with a subpoena. With pleasure, my lord. Now, counsel for the defense.
Yes, my lord.
When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused.
I understand.
Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning.
Yay! Now we get to catch up with Susato! Mr. Naruhodo! Ah, yes? I'm so sorry! I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. Oh, how did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry! Did you really have no idea, Professor? About what Mr. Drebber was really up to, I mean? About what he was really constructing? Naturally! That machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it. Alright, in that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands, so we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow. Well, thank you for doing so much for me. I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo. Arriving late? Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrived. Postcard? What postcard? I hid it from you, Runo, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work?
I was surprised, all right, especially when she threw me to the ground.
Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out. Maybe we could stick to a more traditional display of emotion in the future? Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Oh. Having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So, I'm, delighted to see you back in London. Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you. Of course. So, what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikotoba not protest? Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made some of my most special blends ever for this special occasion. Oh, Iris, how wonderful. I can't wait. Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time, but despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. Yay! I'm glad Susato is back. Amazing. Oh, this room, it's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to stay so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you'd left it. But it has been some 6 months, it's true. So, is your father all right, Susie? What happened? My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba. I mean, it was half a year ago. But that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fallen ill with a very high fever for some unknown reason. That's right. So I was surprised to learn you'd be coming back so soon. Surprised, but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you. That it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved. But about that, well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic? That's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh! You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Yes, of course, I shall. And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you-know-who. About Kazuma. I know. I'll tell you all that I can. Okay, juicy. When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely. The awful trial? Oh yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing! I wish I'd seen it, don't you, Runo? When you get a chance, you should examine the little red dot with one white eye in the back of the room. The dot with a red eye? Like the thing on the shelf? Oh, the doll. Yes, I suppose so. I want to play at being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe. I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just a 10-year-old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Miss Susato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikotoba summoned you back to Japan. And you said in your letter it was something to do with that convict's loot we found in Mr. Natsume's lodgings. That's right, the very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Mr. Natsume included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet. How would that be, then? Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie! That's a very meaningful look Susato-san is giving Iris there. Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium, too. I think he said that investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jigoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Yes, His Excellency, Judge Seishiro Jigoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruhodo, last year in the Supreme Court. You can't possibly have forgotten. That terrible trial of yours, where you were accused of being the murderer. Ah, yes, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Jigoku who presided over that trial. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life. Oh, well, anyway, as Father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end he agreed to let me go on ahead. Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put in an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important. I believe it is, yes, and as I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job for Attorney General. The most senior position in the British justice system. He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. Does Professor Mikotoba know Lord Strongheart personally then, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a speech all about this very subject only yesterday, but I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't listen to much of it. How trying for you. Giselle Brett. The woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongfully accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. That's the name I won't forget as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget. Sorry? Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an English woman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist. What? Didn't exist? But how can that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin. She wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. What? A front? Who on earth was she then? Miss A. Shin. They would... Wait. This cannot possibly be a pun on Asian. They wouldn't do this. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. The real pun is something else? A shin. A sin? I don't know. Nobody knows why, or even how, she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could that woman have been up to? I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we can be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand. And now she's been killed, while all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. A Shin. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? Why do you feel that way? After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange. I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on the steamship. And that he'll never... Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama. And what'd you learn? After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen to the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of consulate staff there. Should have been? Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. Because it was a wax doll and he's alive at Barrack Van Zeek's place. It just disappeared. What? Kazuma's body vanished? Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our home. Except Kazuma-sama isn't there. Did Professor Mikotoba know about this? Yes, it would seem he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak. I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Buria were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be? Could it be that he's actually still alive? Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much to bear. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me. So very much. Cast your mind back for a moment. Mr. Naruhodo. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly. You're right. So if Kazuma hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes had lied to us. But there's no reason why he would possibly have done such a thing. I suppose that's true, yes? The idea that he might still be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it, because if it turned out not to be true, then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me. Oh, Miss Susato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Susato-san we're talking about after all. So I probably shouldn't push it now. Wow. Okay. Well, the game is saying things that I kind of expected them to. I see your Daruma still has only one eye filled. Well, we agreed that it's something we do together, didn't we? We could do it right now if you like. I'd be happy with that. I'd rather like the anticipation, I think. Mr. Naruhodo. It must be about a year ago. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. It's called The Hound of the Baskervilles. But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it, and put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it. Oh, I kind of remember that, Dots. Nobody knows anything about it apart from Hurley and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? Did you, M-Man? And you wouldn't tell me how you'd come to know it. Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Oh. I'm only sorry I've kept it from you for so long, Iris. It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study and I saw something on his desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, The Hound of the Baskervilles. What? My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and...
Susato, what are you doing?
Oh, Father.
Did you look at those papers?
No, I simply read the label, that's all.
Well, put it out of your mind.
Sorry?
Forget that you ever saw it, and certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand?
But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan? I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholmes' exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer my questions, and there was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I have no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still. I don't know, Susato. It sounds to me like your dad is up to some shady business. I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Wax Museum as well. So, you're fully abreast of the situation already, Miss Susato. I'd expect nothing less, to be honest. I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick. Yes, a conjurer of sorts, by the sound of it. Well known in the fields of science and magic. Then we just need to go and arrest him. Well, yes. We must know the truth behind the case, so I agree we really need to find the man. It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. Which is a job for the police. Or a great detective. Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think. Good idea. Well, best of luck then. Oh, you're not coming today? I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. But let me know later how you got on, won't you? That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb market must be strong. Okay. Experimentation stage, Madame to spells. Alright, I want to go to the experimentation stage first. I had no idea there were so many people in the world. I know what you mean. It's really packed here today. It feels as though it's taken us 2 hours just to make our way through the crowds at this point. Has it? I shut my brain down, so I didn't really notice, to be honest. Gosh, I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes, Mr. Naruhodo. There you are. I had a feeling you lot would show your mugs before long. Oh, it's Gina. And him. Oh, Inspector Gregson. I see you're hard at work as usual. Warm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since we last met. What's with all the ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, Sunshine, the gentlewoman so loyally at your side. Oh. Why, thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice. He might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper English gentleman at heart, I suppose. As you've probably guessed, we were hoping to investigate the scene some more. Right, well, that's the young trainee's domain. Oi, get over here, Gina. Oh, she has a doggo. She seems to be busy playing with a puppy. She's probably giving it a traditional East End training. Gina? She's a police officer now? Amazing, isn't it? She's a good kid, actually. Heart's in the right place. Anyway, she's got the detection bug, if you ask me. Detective bug, maybe? That's what he said? Yep, I think she'll follow in my footsteps nicely. What do you mean? I'm being transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London. Oh no, really? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you going to be posted then? We'll come to see how you're getting along. Not likely. But you're welcome to try. If you don't mind a trip to France, that is. To France? I'll be working in the Paris Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley. But France, it's an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there? That's the way the adult world works, Sunshine. Now don't go poking your nose in where it's not wanted. I'm intended to take the kid with me when I go. What? You're taking Gina to Paris? I know there's not fish and chips everywhere in Paris. I would love to have an authentic fish and chips, like, from the UK. I want to see if it's different. New England fish and chips is wonderful. Steven! Speaking of wonderful, welcome. We are making great progress through Chapter 3, and I'm thrilled that Susato is back. Also, I'm just saying, I called the whole trick with the air balloon dropping the cage, and my hunch is that Kazuma, wax statue, body double, alive with Van Zeeks, it's all coming together, okay? We have assessed the situation, and we are waiting for the game to catch up. It is proved when Susato said that his body was never sent to Hong Kong. Done. Another bottle. Yeah, I'll probably refill my glass soon. Yes, she revealed that. But I was saying it before she said that. As soon as we went to the Wax Museum, I was like, Kazuma's alive. But there are lots of other mysteries that need to be unraveled around it. Like, why? Also, we basically know already that this dude is him. Yeah, Assassin's Creed Kazuma. It took me until today's episode to realize that his hair is shaped like a brain. That's embarrassing. Kevin getting sleepy? Did you not realize it too, Steven? I love how he's Bohemian Boy instead of the full name. God bless. Well, I can't leave her here in London. Who knows what had become of her? Also, they said that Miss Brett's name was A. Shin, and I was like, are they making a pun on Asian? Apparently not. It's something else. But I think this game, if any game was gonna go there, it would be this game. I suppose he's not worried she'd slip back into slipping her hands into people's pockets and purses. I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing, Mr. Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper. Oh, of course. So that's playing on Inspector Gregson's mind too, is it? It would be this game, I'm saying. Pause! Hi, happy Sunday. Anyway, I haven't mentioned any of this to Gina, so don't go blabbing, you hear? No, of course not. I've gotta ask that Divine and Diva safe... I've gotta keep that Divine and Diva safe and sound. Until all this is over, at least. Let's immediately tell her. Oi, did you just call me a bloomin' divin' diva again? So you heard that, did you? Right. Well, any questions about the scene, you can put them to my capable detective diva here. Alright, you heard the boss. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now. I suppose I'd better keep my word and not mention anything about Paris. So, Gina, you've got a new dog, have you? Oh, isn't he great? Toby's his name. How delightful. He's absolutely adorable. Yes, the dog does seem lovely, but it's not so lovely Inspector Gregson that's playing on my mind, to be honest. Well, yeah, because his name's Tobias. Like, what? Gina? We were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again. Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like. Oh, that's alright, is it? I'm gonna be playing with my new friend here. Ah, yes, Toby. The machine that exploded must be at the top of those stairs, I presume. I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you don't mind. Sorry, can't let you go up there, Suze. Oh? It's like I told Odo yesterday, even I ain't allowed near that wreck. What's it called again? The reason we ain't supposed to touch it? The special... The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? Is that what you were thinking of? That's the one. That's why only them lot are allowed to investigate it. What are they called again? The Forensic something? The Forensic Investigation Team. Is that what you were thinking of? That's the one, yeah. But isn't it the case that the special dispensation has been lifted? I think so. I don't really get it, to be truthful with ya. You're still supposed to get permission from some bigwig or other, as far as I know. What was his name again? Lord Strange something. I'm not sure that's quite right, Gina. I think you mean Lord Strongheart, perhaps. That's the one, yeah. Apparently, he's always watching the time or something. So without Lord Strongheart's express permission, we can't investigate on the stage. It was great, weren't it? I had a right laugh. It was a new one on me, that. You know, being in court and not spending the whole time worrying if I'm about to be found out. You did keep an awful lot of secrets in all your previous court cases, didn't you? Yeah, and Odo's made things hard for me every single time and all. Just doing my job, Gina. But watching someone else get in the neck is a lot of fun, actually. It was amazing when you showed that dodgy professor's dodgy experiment was a total fix. The dodgy professor, as you put it, Gina, is Mr. Naruhodo's client. Yes, I'm starting to wish he wasn't, though. It's the boss I feel sorry for, sent off to do the impossible. What do you mean? He's supposed to arrest that other cove, ain't he? And in time for tomorrow and all. You know, the dodgy engineer. What's his name again? Dr. Drebber, you mean. Enoch Drebber. That's the one, yeah. So the police are looking for this mysterious man with the black monocle. I guess they would be. It's putting too much on the boss, if you ask me. He says it's giving him gut ache. Oh dear. But I do wonder if that isn't actually from all... If that isn't from all the fried food. So Scotland Yard are trying to track down Mr. Enoch Drebber. I wonder if they've had any luck. He's really funny looking. Got two eyes, what don't match. Stole a glimpse of a picture from it earlier. I mean, I didn't actually pinch it or nothing. The old devil's got it. Sorry, who? You know, that scowling reaper what's always glugging down glasses of that blood-red plonk. Ah, Lord Van Zeeks. He's always had it in for me, that cove. Dunno what he's always scowling about mine. Probably would have been a pretty good boss as it goes. She'd rather be the Reaper's apprentice than a detective's trainee. And the way I see it, if the choice is between a chip-guzzling detective and a chalice-glugging demigod, you're equally badly off with both. I suppose you're right. I hadn't thought of it like that. Glad we put that one to bed. Anyway, the point is, everyone at the yard's dead set on finding the fishy engineer. But there don't seem to be no clues to go on, so they're stuck. There's nothing that can lead us to Drebber at all? Where did you find that little mutt then, Gina? Oi, don't be so flamin' rude, Odo. Slight overreaction, don't you think? He ain't no mutt, alright. Toby's, as they put it. So cute. Oh yeah, a bona fide detective. Sorry? I've given him proper title and everything. It's Chief Inspector Toby to you. More senior than Inspector Gregson, is he? Oh, so he's a police dog, is he? The police recruit dogs now? I've heard that they're already being used officially in Germany as a part of their city policing. They're used for chasing criminals and such like. They have a wonderful sense of smell, after all. I have a fairly good sense of smell myself, as it happens. I can tell undergarments that have been freshly laundered from undergarments that haven't. Ha! That's nothing compared to this little fella, Odo. Oh, really? According to what the boss said, once Toby Ears got a good whiff of your drawers, He can chase the scent to the other side of the world. What? To the other side of the world? You mean he can swim? Mr. Naruhodo, I think you may have missed the point. By rather a wide margin. I just can't believe this little dog has such an incredible skill. I'm telling you, Odo, there's gonna be more and more dogs doing their bit for the police in the future. Yes, I agree. Right, one of these days, they'll be barking orders at us lot, not the other way around. Oh dear, sorry Gina, I don't think I agree with your vision quite that much. Well anyway, whatever you think about that, Toby Ear is Britain's first police dog. I found him down the East End the other day. Someone had just chucked him out on the street. There you go. I knew she lifted him from somewhere. Oh, Gina, you're such a kind-hearted soul, aren't you? To children and to animals. Here's the scorching on the ground that you mentioned. Yes, that's what's left of the green balloon's envelope. All clear evidence of the balloon that exploded on the day of the incident. Poor Professor Harebrain. I do feel sorry for him that his dreams have been shattered like this. Someone's well and truly burst his bubble, as it were. Ha ha ha. Ouch. I'm a bad person. Look, a flying balloon. I've never seen one in the flesh before. I can't understand how they can fly, and so high up as well. Oh, but think of the view, Mr. Naruhodo. You must be able to see for miles and miles. I do think of it, and it terrifies me. I mean, it would be certain death if you fell out. I'm sure they're perfectly safe. After all, they've been invented by some of the brightest minds in the world. Let's not forget that we know of at least one that has exploded. I'm sure there are other ways to fly. Alright, so let's go see Strongheart. We gotta get permission to go look at the machine. Oh? I'm gonna refill my chalice, my hallowed chalice. So, 2 minutes, I'll be right back. Okay, I am back, and on with the show we go. 23rd October, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office. Who is he meeting with? Oh, who's that standing beside Lord Strongheart? I wonder. I've never seen her before. Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrabbling to respond. Lord Van Zeeks is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. The special dispensation that prevents investigation at the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. Scrap metal now, is it? Until later, then, Lord Strongheart. Yes, thank you. Who was that? That was Dr. Courtney Seath, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. She's leading the forensic investigation team's handling of the case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact. Oh, I see. About Mr. Asman. Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings. I don't have the time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You can find her in the forensics laboratory. Ah, right. Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time. So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. Alright, let's chat. What exactly is the forensic investigation team that you mentioned before? The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I first created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially of course, to pave the way. Goodness, a year ago? At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly. What do you mean? For too long, those scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes, but London's scum is about to be rounded up and burnt in the fires of hell. I intend to see it personally. By creating the finest police force the world has ever known to protect our honor and our future. Look at those eyes. He means every word. Dr. Seath is an extremely reliable coroner. When I officially establish the forensics division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of symposium, Miss Mikotoba. Oh, yes, my lord. Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan. Yes, that's right. I understand he will arrive at the beginning of next month. Are you acquainted, Lord Strongheart? With Professor Mikotoba, I mean. It was many years ago now, but yes, I remember Dr. Mikotoba very well. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student. It was the year I was born, so yes, 16 years ago in fact. Mikotoba was a young practitioner of forensic science, and Jigoku accompanied him as a young, promising judge. The punctiliousness and politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed us greatly. And not that I wish to imply impoliteness or carelessness on your part in that way. I didn't think you were. Dr. Mikutoba studied forensics at one of London's large hospitals, St. Cener's, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Sith was also there, as it happens. Then, Dr. Sith knows my father, does she? She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt they knew each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikutoba was here studying at his subject for some 6 years in total. 6 years. That's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it? I lived with my grandmother in those years. So he left his newborn daughter behind and went overseas for 6 whole years. It was a rather turbulent time at home. Oh. Perhaps father wanted a reason to get away. What do you mean? Why? Well, clearly something was going on at the time. I wanted to ask you about Lord Van Zeeks, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who targets nobles and royalty, is that right? You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. You could say that it was that very incident that gave rise to the Reaper. What? Why? When his brother, Clint Van Zeeks, was murdered, it was just after young Barrack had graduated from University of London and become a prosecutor. When obvious criminals who managed to evade conviction in court started disappearing, rumors quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that wherever Barrack Van Zeeks went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind. Oh my word! So Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper. It's the ghost of his brother? Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles. Oh yes, Lord Strongheart. Go ahead. It's about Professor Harebrain's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains if possible. Are you well versed in science then? Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject at all until recently. Well, the special dispensation legally preventing investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Sid's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation, but I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage, as long as you touch nothing. Thank you. Being able to look at it is better than nothing. And I'll be able to see it too. Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls. We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you are so busy, my lord. I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand. Okay. So, we have so many places to visit, it's kind of insane. Let's go back to the stage. Gina, we were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again. Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like. Oh, it's alright then. Okay. Can't go up there, Suze. We're now around near the wreck. Yes, we already read this. We've just recently been to see Lord Strongheart.
You what? You've met him?
Last time the boss was called to go and see him, he waited for 3 hours at the Cove's office and came back sniveling.
Tragic.
Well, Lord Strongheart has given us permission to examine the scene as long as we touch nothing.
Oh yeah?
Honestly. Alright then, go ahead. But if it turns out you're lying, it'll be the boss who gets it. He'll never eat another chip again in his life. So, you're still saying all this is above board, are you? I'm sure everything will be fine. That really would be tragic. Alright, them's the stairs. Off you go. Oh, thank you, Gina. Stage up there is where the experiment was set up. It's very high, isn't it? About 30 feet, I believe. Or 9 meters if you prefer. Craning your neck up to see it hurts after a while, doesn't it? Yes, we need to get up there and look around properly. Although, if I'm honest, climbing all those stairs makes my chest hurt. Oh dear. I think perhaps you should exercise more, Mr. Naruhodo. Okay. Oh my, so this is the machine. That was used to deceive people into thinking instantaneous kinesis had taken place. Oh, that's right. Or rather, it was the machine. It's a little worse for wear at the moment. What extraordinary lengths Professor Hairbrain went to in order to obtain the research grant. No, the professor was tricked as well. Didn't know anything about it. Yes, of course. It is amazing, though, isn't it? The scale of the whole affair is so very British. You're right about that. You'd never see such a grand deception in Japan, that's for sure. Oh, look, is that... Ah, Lord Van Zeeks? So, I think we're more or less done here then, aren't we? Shall we, Mr. Sato? Already? He is the Reaper, remember? Wrong. We'd do well to keep our distance, I think. But we have permission to be here, from the top. We're perfectly well allowed to investigate this machine, as long as we don't touch anything. From the top? Do you mean Lord Strongheart? Exactly. So we can stay here and stare at this wreckage as long as we like. She could have been at the center of the explosion here and it wouldn't have bent her steel will. What a terrible explosion it must have been. Even the steel girders have buckled and twisted in the blast. And what they called a bird cage was right in the middle of it all, just here. But look, Mr. Naruhodo, that metal grill on the floor. Looks as though it's designed to open. Does, doesn't it? If the floor had opened at the precise moment the explosion occurred, the birdcage could have dropped through and disappeared from sight. I don't think there's any doubt that this was a very elaborate hoax, is there? Okay, that's big. Look at that horn-shaped transmitting device. Amazing, isn't it? That's exactly what I thought when I first saw it. It makes you think, doesn't it? If only it had just been a normal horn, none of this would have happened. That's almost exactly what I thought as well. I bet I can predict what you're going to say next in that case. You're about to say, nothing ever goes to plan, aren't you? Oh no, I would never say something like that. However much I look at them, I just can't come to terms with those Tamari handballs floating in the sky. You've been glaring at them constantly since we came up here. Sorry. The feelings of wanting to ride in one and wanting never to set foot in one are fighting it out inside me. But if you don't look where you're walking, you might fall from the stage. I don't think I'd notice. That's how fiercely the battle inside me is raging. I think you should try to make peace with riding one, Mr. Naruhodo. It really would be much safer that way. Oh! My goodness, Dots. Least approachable man in the world winner 10 years in a row. Be strong, Mr. Naruhodo. Your country and your assistant stand firm behind you. Lord Van Zeeks. What? Well, beautiful weather we're having, isn't it? I thought I was making it quite clear that I didn't want to be disturbed. Apparently you Nipponese are unequipped to read the signs. Oh, I read them. So, what are you doing here? Entry to this area is prohibited. Well, the thing is, Lord Chief Justice Strongheart granted us permission to investigate, on the condition that we didn't disturb anything. And yet you've managed to disturb me. Ugh! Never mind. State your business, then. Come to think of it, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask Lord Van Zeeks about. Not least of which is that awful case, even though it's nothing to do with this. Ask away, Mr. Naruhodo. You know you won't know unless you try. So, Clint was the name of your older brother, I understand, Lord Van Zeeks. You Nipponese, I always have to be on guard whenever you're around. So, you've been investigating me, have you? Oh, no, it's not like that. Well, alright, it is a bit like that. My older brother was also a prosecutor. He was the pride of the Van Zeeks family, but tragically, a vicious killer took him from us. The professor, you mean? Is something funny? That's the extent of what you've discovered, is it? I shouldn't be surprised. Sorry, there's more to it then. Lackluster work is very much your trademark, isn't it? Ugh, you're too kind. Are you going to tar all Nipponese with the same brush next time? So tell me, what's your interest in the historic incident? As it happens, Lord Van Zeeks, there's a rather curious case that's come to our attention. Are you aware of the Madame Tispel's Museum of Waxwork by any chance? I am, naturally. I believed that since last month, I feature in one of the displays there for public scorn. Of course, the infamous Reaper of the Bailey would have to be exhibited, wouldn't he? Well, a particular waxwork has been stolen from the place and held for ransom. Particular waxwork? Which? Wait, you mean... Yes, it's the professor. Mr. Sholmes is investigating the case as we speak. I was unaware of that. He's turned as white as a sheet. Are the police trying to locate the engineer, Mr. Drebber, already? Surely that goes without saying. We're very keen to see him found as well. Trouble is, we don't have much to go on aside from the description of the man we heard in court earlier. Which, according to Professor Harebrain, was a tall, thin gentleman who has straight white hair and wears a black monocle. So, I was just wondering, I mean, I realize it's probably not possible, but, we'd very much appreciate any more clues you can give us. Wow, Susato-san really knows how to take the bull by the horns. Fine, why not?
I have a photograph of the man from the investigation 10 years ago. Ah, shit. So wait, they're saying Drebber also has a black monocle. The fuck? Though it appears he already had that black monocle at the time. It's Iris. No. What? Oh, nothing. I was just surprised you shared that with us. We all need the man's testimony in court tomorrow, which means we have to do everything we possibly can to track him down in the short time available. So why shouldn't I show you the photograph? What is it about Lord Van Zeeks? Sometimes I just can't work him out at all. Ah, there he is, Kazuma. Ah, the file I requested for the trial tomorrow. Thank you. Are you alright? Who is that man, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Van Zeek's apprentice, apparently. So I'm not the only one. Susato-san can see it too. Lord Van Zeeks, may we speak to your apprentice for a moment? With him? Why? Yeah. Kazuma-sama. Kazuma. I don't believe it. Your posture, your presence. It can only be. It's you, isn't it, Kazuma-sama? I felt something strange the very first time I encountered this cloaked figure. As if I knew him somehow. Can it really be you, Kazuma? Wait! Too late. What's going on here? What is your interest in my apprentice exactly? You act as if you know the man or something. Well, since when has he been in your care? I don't recall you having an apprentice before I left Britain 6 months ago. Lord Strongheart introduced him to me about 3 months ago now, with instructions to mentor him as a prosecutor. But he didn't tell you why, did he? The man appears to be suffering from amnesia. He's forgotten every last detail about himself. He has amnesia? Tomorrow he will appear in court at my side. What? He's to serve as my judicial assistant, on Lord Strongheart's orders. He'll be in court with us. Now then, unless I'm much mistaken, I believe this conversation has run its course. Oh, yes, thank you. I definitely saw a reaction there. When Susato called out like that, it really seemed to be, to hit a nerve. When she called out Kazuma-sama. Okay, so they address this a little earlier than I thought. Oh Jesus, we have a lot to get to. Okay. Let's go see what's going on with Madame Tuspel and Sherlock. I mean Herlock. Oh my, no wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery.
Being scared makes you crave sweets? I can understand that. I was looking forward to a reunion after 6 months away, but there's no sign of Mr. Sholmes anywhere. That's strange. He should be here investigating the abduction of the waxwork. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. Ah! I believe this is it. Dr. Seath's laboratory. That chemical smell really assaults the nose. And there's plenty to assault the eyes in here, too. Here. It looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think? What a seasoned tourist you've become, Miss Susato. We could have just a little look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls. Table and set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they become so horribly disturbing? It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that's open on the desk does make me wonder, though. How can anybody concentrate on bookwork with this acrid odor of chemicals in the air? You'd either have to have a cast iron constitution or a really terrible sense of smell. Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liqueurs or something. Or they're pickled umeboshi plums we make back home. Father had jars like that in his laboratory as well. I suspect they're human organs in preserving solution, probably as examples of some rare medical condition. Miss Susato, there are some things in the world that are perfectly fine to never know about, ever. Oh. So as I said, I'm sure they're fruit liquors or umeboshi, aren't they? Of course. Look at all the bottles on the shelves in these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals. Those ones are all labeled highly toxic. Ugh. That's worrying, because there are some things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there. Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in this room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes. Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. Look at this big, thick book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh. What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but, well, one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. 500? They must be working really hard on dissecting corpses. I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out in certain special circumstances. The scalpel blades can be sharpened, too. It does seem a bit strange. You're right. 500 scalpels a month? What could they possibly be using them all for? What are you doing? Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so... So you thought you'd snoop around. That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want? Lord Strongheart told us, you see, that it was you who examined the victim's body. Mr. Asmon's body, I mean. So we came to ask about your findings, on Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene. The victim, Mr. Odie Asman, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion, and the Mr. Asman who appeared moments later partway up the Crystal Tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion, but that can't be right. If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see, if two people who looked very similar to each other were involved, they could have made it appear as if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true, but sadly, in this instance, that was not the case. The man who disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints at the scene make that quite evident. Ah, fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system, but one day they will be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. Oh my, that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So, where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, and yet the body did move from one place to the other. This hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery. Mama, what is this? Where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? This is a lawyer, dear. Oh, hello. To meet you? Pleased to meet you? Yes, I'm a defense lawyer, Mr. Mama. Yes? Can I cut this one up? What? I've never seen an inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like. Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see. Boring. I think I just had a near-death experience. Oh dear, Mr. Naruhodo, you're as pale as a corpse. Then let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. Alright, so I think next is gonna be... We have Tispel's office and we have the prison, and we have... Well, we'll go to the prison next and then go to Tispel's, because I think we've already been to the other places. However, 10 p.m. was kind of where I wanted to end this, guys, and admittedly, my voice is getting tired. So I think we've gotta save the rest of this case for Saturday when we resume. Thank you guys for hanging. It has been a wonderful stream, and I will see you guys tomorrow for some Persona 3. So everybody, have a great night. I will see you guys this week. Take care.